Hello everyone, this is Neil King and I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania today at this great fountain in Center City. I brought along a Michael Cho book, Shoplifter. Michael Cho is a great illustrator, cartoonist, who I'm often inspired by. He does a lot of different types of landscapes, and this is just a book that I thought I'd bring along to show a few examples. Look at this beautiful background. Like, he really does his homework by going out and getting images, interiors, I'm sure, as well as these exterior scenes. So he's just trying to find as much that he can bring his cartooning to make it look a little more real. He's not worried about an incredible amount of detail, but he does try to give you a great sense of wherever these characters are. So I'm going to use this in sketches. This is a quick little sketch I did of one of the fountain figures. I'm going to go through this. There's the fountain. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. This is what I typically do in my journal, my sketching journal. Here's one of the figures here. Now this is one of my sketchbooks that I have brought with me. This is maybe my 13th or 14th. And as you can see, I go to all kinds of different places. I'll do still lifes. I'll do all kinds of different things like this. Go to museums. Go all kinds of different places. Here's the one I just finished off of one of the figures, female figure. It's off to the side. Most of these sketches are when I do them, they're just with a Bic Pen. And what I try to do, I do my best at, is just to, from the beginning, to try to get those massive shapes into place. So the figure this time is that male figure, and he's reclining, so there's a lot of things you have to think about. And what I try to think about as a cartoonist, it's always in my mind, is am I getting the right shapes and am I getting the flow of that figure? So all I'm doing here is just setting up some of the major shapes that I'm going to be dealing with. Now, I do really enjoy this type of thing. I like going out and looking at things and seeing where they are compared to each other, like the hand, where it's eventually going to land to the other, and here it is. I'm going to set that arm into place as much as I can. Again, I'm not trying to get that much realism in this. I really want to try to get proportions first. Now, there's a whole lot of foreshortening going on, so I'm going to try to establish a certain amount of it right away. Now, working in pen, some people don't like this idea, but for me, that underdrawing, I'm trying to get just some basic shapes in it, and it doesn't bother me that some of those shapes will last. In the meantime, I thought I'd show you guys quickly one of my books, Who Stole All the Heads at the Met? And this is a funny little story about two brothers who go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and one of the brothers thinks that his younger brother has stolen all the heads at the Met. So he goes there, and you can see some background images there of the Met. And what he tries to do is, before his brother gets into too much trouble, he tries to replace the heads with all the heads that are in the museum, all the loose heads. So craziness comes around, and again, this is the kind of work I do outside of just sketching and doing things. I have many books on my Amazon page, and all my books are there. So just make sure that you're looking at all these things, the links that I have on the page in YouTube. Here we go back into the figure. And again, what I'm just trying to do is lay in some of the main areas so that as I'm moving through this, that I'm thinking that the proportions are correct. There's a lot of little details, and I am not the type of artist who is overwhelmed by trying to get every specific detail. I'm really looking at does it give me the indication of what I'm looking at? And I'll try to, to me, it's more focusing on where those shadows are coming, the likeness of it. I'm not that worried about it, but I do want to kind of have a feeling of it, so that it's that when you would see something like this, that it would be recognizable as the image that I'm looking at. When I'm doing outdoor images like this, my main focus again is just saying, is everything lining up? Is this where I keep looking back and forth to say, is that where the wrist ends up, or that, when it's over his head like that, or where is the hand? And right now, where's that chest in relation to that shoulder? I'm just bringing it around. You can see, like, just doing major, because I'm a cartoonist, I'm just trying to find the contrast. And I've drawn figures, thousands and thousands of figures. So as a cartoonist, I feel like sometimes I'm quick to just fill in what I know and not look at what I'm seeing. So I keep forcing myself to try to do that when I'm doing exteriors like this. And this is what's important, I think, to everybody, to do life drawing as much as you can. Doesn't mean that you have to draw still lifes and things, but I like to go out and I'll draw all kinds of different things. And some of my favorite things, though, are to find statues, or to find, I like trees and rocks and things, and depends on where I am. But in the city, I am definitely drawn to going to these types of fountains where there's lots of figure work. And these are really kind of, pre-Raphaelite. I mean, it's, to me, this could have been any type of a Michelangelo, feeling, or Dan, that the ultimate muscled figure, the ideal figure. So for me, I don't have to do a lot of abstraction like I like to do with some of my illustrations. Here I'm trying to keep a naturalistic image as much as I can. So this part of it, even just this little fish part, that's the part of the fountain. I just want to kind of get the proportions and see where it's falling, because again, his hand is up there, and I'm trying to make sure that when I'm drawing it, that it does make sense. I keep looking to see where the light source is, and not allow myself to make things up, because as a cartoonist, we just draw so much that you kind of just want to do what you know. And this is a good exercise for people who are like myself, who draw very similarly. I draw in some ways a lot like Michael Cho, who's a great illustrator. But for myself, when it comes to figures and characters and stuff, which I prefer to draw, I love to draw figures, I can find myself trying to make things up and elongate or do different kinds of things there. So this is, again, me just saying, I keep trying to look, am I doing this in the correct manner? And again, when I'm working on the legs like that, there's some foreshortening happening. So you can see some of the marks that I've made. I feel like they're successful. I'm getting a sense of that leg going back and the one coming up in front of it, and they cross over down there at the bottom. But because of this as a sketch, I really am not that interested in going that much further. Like, I've gotten this nice little figure. I'm feeling okay about it. Again, I want to put it into its background to a certain point. This specific sketch is not about the background. The background, all it's really doing for me is giving a sense of where this thing is. So this is a part of like some tail of a fish that's probably behind him, some type of aquatic image. But I'm just trying to put it on there and to give myself a feeling about what's happening and where it's all going. So as you can see, I'm getting closer and closer to the finish of this. And when I'm looking at it, I try to keep looking up as much as I can. So here it is again. You can see what's going on there. There's a lot of things going on in the background, but I don't want to get too lost in them. I want to do my cartoonist bit, which is how do I focus on the character, get a good sense of the character being in a background. Again, this is just a sketch. So I want to make it seem like he's laying on something. And I'm not drawing the entire fountain. I'm not trying to make this about the fountain. I'm way more interested in the figure. But I am going to just show a little bit of the parts of the fountain that, to me, are interesting. This little stepped up area here. And again, just trying to relate it to the things around it. There are statues around it, so I'm kind of editing out any peripheral things. I really want the viewer to just see the figure, and that's the star of the show at this one, for this one. But if I don't indicate some type of part of that, of the fountain and the things around it, it'll give you a sense of this could have been anywhere. So in the background there are some things. There's the Ben Franklin, or the Franklin Institute is in the background. We can barely see it, but it's back there. A few trees. There's a bunch of posts that are around. I just don't want also any of them getting in the way, you know, of the star of the show of this thing. So easy ways to do that is to bump up the line around the figure. Or when you're going in, and you can see I'm just trying to say, well, there's some of the architecture. So you get an idea that there's something back there. And then it's just me saying, well, here's some parts of the tree, big indication. And then again, it's just me saying, and sitting back in space, another light. And then finishing him off in his area. Simple hatching lines, nothing crazy. But again, all we're trying to think of is how do we see him in a stronger way? Where's the contrast? And when you have a pen and ink like this, a Bic Pen and ink, all you want to do is say, okay, here he is. I'm getting close to the bottom of that page, so I don't want to overdo it. I didn't want to focus on everything, so I'll just do a little bit of indication. His foot does come up, but I don't want to get into that. And again, he's kind of getting there to the end. You can see I'm just separating. Little contrast behind him. Over here, can't help but look at him. Simple little background parts to that. Again, little indications. And that it gives you the sense of reality. Again, just a sketch. If I was going to do this in color, I could use a lot of different variations of the colors in the background to push those back. But when it's just a line, you just want to say, all right, this is back there, here's the indication, still bumping up lines. Trying to make it all make sense. Again, just kind of wrapping up the feeling of this. This is what my sketchbook is all about. Just reference. And I draw all the time. Little indication of a person, the background, someone there. Again, and that's the end of it. Hope you enjoyed watching this. A lot of fun to do.